the nation's biggest bank is facing a $13 billion fine this morning for its role in the mortgage meltdown. JPMorgan Chase negotiated the tentative settlement on civil charges with the Justice Department. The deal does not end a criminal probe, and it could set a new standard in cracking down on bank behavior. Bill Cohan is the author of 3 best-selling books about Wall Street corruption. He was also a managing director at JPMorgan Chase until 2004. Welcome, Bill. I want to talk about what this means in general, but first, just the sum, $13 billion. I mean, that is likely the biggest fine ever levied by the Department of Justice.
You know, by multiples. I mean, this is a mind-blowing sum. It's stunning. It's huge. And of course, we all want to know who ends up paying for it. I assume it's the JPMorgan shareholders along with some insurance companies, but it is a mind-boggling sum of money.
And what does it mean in terms of when they say the Attorney General says it does not rule out future criminal prosecutions? Why would JPMorgan agree to that?
Well, JPMorgan tried very hard to wrap it all together and put a nice bow on it. Unfortunately, the Justice Department wouldn't let them agree to a deferred prosecution agreement about the criminal charges.
And I think that's probably because it lends to the suggestion that maybe they bought their way out of the problem, right?
Well, I think the Justice Department wants to show that it can be tougher than it has been in the past. And by the way, they must believe, I believe it's the California U.S. attorneys, believe they have evidence, whether it's emails or documents, that show that there might be, in fact, some criminal behavior. We have to see, of course. But I think that is what's driving the Justice Department to take a tough line on this.
Is most of this about companies that JPMorgan bought during the crisis that came about in 2008?
So, Charlie, this is a great point, because what Jamie Dimon and JPMorgan executives would have us believe is that mostly this was a result of what they bought in Bear Stearns in March of 2008 and then Washington Mutual in the fall of 2008. What I'm hearing actually is that the majority of this may actually be from JPMorgan Chase's own behavior itself. So they've been trying to have people believe that, hey, we were just trying to help the government out. We were just trying to help the American people out by buying Bear Stearns, buying Washington Mutual, and this is the reward that we get, a $13 billion penalty. But in fact, I think more than people think was actually in the JPMorgan business line itself.
This settlement also, this deal also sets a new standard for Bank of America,
Absolutely.
Which also purchased one of those companies.
Bank of America, of course, bought Countrywide, right, and then Merrill Lynch. So they're sort of next in line. Yeah. In fact, they're talking about even a potentially larger settlement. And Citigroup and Morgan Stanley and Deutsche Bank, I mean, and Royal Bank of Scotland. This is the beginning of a perhaps domino effect.
Yeah. What does it mean for people who lost their homes?
Well, this could actually be some good news for people who lost their homes, because I believe $4 billion of this $13 billion goes to people who lost their homes through foreclosure. So that could be good news.
Phil, thanks.
Thank you.